결국 넥서스가
나이스!
그리핀이 여름 정규 스플릿을 완성시킵니다. SK텔레콤 T1입니다.
이렇게 하면 질 수가 없습니다. SKT! 와!
페이커!
기분 좋아요.
봄의 챔피언이 여름의 왕좌를 노립니다. 화정으로 갑니다.
그리핀 나와!
Welcome everybody to the 2019 LCK Summer Finals. We are here at the Tiger Dome for Korea University. I'm Valdez. With me are my two wonderful analyst casters, Papa Smithy and LS, aka League Script. We are here to bring you guys the pre-show. We're going to have a bunch of fun for Griffin versus SKT. Should be an interesting matchup, this one, the rematch from spring.
And that already is notable about us. We have never had consecutive finals with the same two teams. Yes, there's often been one team playing it forward, often SKT, but both teams rematching. Griffin's third in a row, but with 0 crowns so far. This could be a really interesting day because I think it's a day that will be defined by those super high expectations for SKT. I would be surprised if we see a single stakeholder predicting Griffin because of SKT's dominant showing in the best of fives. And yet, LS is over here and he's always got something spicy to say.
No, I agree with you on the SKT thing. I think it is inconceivable to ever bet on Griffin based on everything historically. If you vote on Griffin with everything that's coming into this finals, you might end up being right at the end of the day.
Exactly.
But you were still wrong.
Yeah, I mean, a broken clock is right twice a day, right? And based on what we have seen from the recent games and the stats, SKT is on an amazing roll, especially in best of fives and especially against Griffin in best of fives.
It's one of those things where I actually really agree with LS. It's a very aggressive point to rule out the team that was, what, first overall in the regular season, and yet everything about recent play favors SKT. For example, Griffin haven't played yet on patch 9.16, which will be our patch today. Pantheon, of course, still globally banned, just like you saw over in the LEC. But you add on how good Clid and Faker have looked as a duo. That SKT in best of fives in 2019 in Korea, this will be their 5th best of 5. They have lost 0 games so far in the best of 5 stage. In fact, in playoffs, the only game they've dropped was against Afrika in the wildcard match.
No, and I mean, they're coming into this on a tear, and historically, Griffin has always performed poorly after breaks. Every single time. They have done noticeably worse, and the other big question mark coming into this is Doron is their new top laner. How's he going to perform with the pressure added by the Final Four? Will the fact that Griffin and SKT are both qualified for Worlds alleviate enough pressure for Griffin to feel comfortable?
It seems unlikely, and yet that is a potential factor for Day. Here's a fun fact. There are actually 6 players here who are looking for that LCK title that they don't have, because Effort, remember, hasn't won an LCK title yet. He is also someone looking for their first title. Mata, of course, was the starting support in spring season. Looking over history here, Griffin did pick up a 2-0 win over SKT, but everyone did. They were kind of handing them out like candy during that 6-match losing streak. Since then, though, fortunes have shifted a lot, and SKT come in with their heads held high.
You know, historically, SKT has generally been streaky, mainly winning a lot. I mean, their franchise has an amazing history behind it. 7 LCK wins, and even here in summer, they're on a bit of streakiness again. a lot of losses in a row into 9 wins in a row, and now a bunch of wins in a row in playoffs, especially in best of fives, and smashing. You know, it wasn't even just wins that they were getting against Sandbox and Damwon. It was smashing them into the ground, making them go mental boom by game 3. So you were bringing up the mental issues and the choke stuff for Griffin. Will they be able to come up, get over that today is definitely going to be a big point.
Well, we're taking a look at some of the highlights leading up to this match, and I think that the meta is going to be really important. And remember, this is where Griffin, they come out with the 2-0 against SKT.
Way back when, right? Match 27, there's 90 matches, 90 best of 3s in the regular season. So in the first round robin, during that losing streak, it was a very confident victory for Griffin. But by the second round robin, fortunes had changed. This was overall an SKT victory. That was a victory with effort in the lineup, remember, match number 65.
I believe this must have been 9:15 that we were on, maybe 9:14.
More than it might have been around 9:13, 9:14.
Yeah, we see Faker was playing a bunch of Corki then. He's now moved to other stuff, still playing a bit of Azir, and also bringing in other picks such as Nico and a bunch of other flex picks for the playoffs so far. Unless you were talking about Doran, he came in his first loss, and he was crying. He was going Bible thump all the way, and then all of a sudden he was able to turn it around and he bring that winning spirit into tonight.
Really good game number 2, and like you're saying about the winning spirit, can he bring it into tonight? What is going to be the meta approach by both of these teams? Faker has been on a bit of a tirade with champions that we weren't expecting SK Telecom to come out with. He's even been playing Assassins and piloting them really well. He picked up Kassadin. And I feel like the Chovy-Faker dynamic is going to be really integral to this matchup. And what sort of new picks will we end up seeing? Syndra has been murmured quite a lot in recent weeks. I don't know if she'll end up coming out, but what kind of champion picks is Faker bringing to today?
Well, we'll also have to take a look at this, as all of the matches between Griffin and SKT before the spring finals were wins. And even that first best of 3 in summer was a win by Griffin until SKT did pick up that first best of 3 win.
And if you look at this, you have to also weight the fact that those 2018 matches were a very different SKT lineup, so perhaps shouldn't necessarily be judged under the same aura.
Yeah.
But it is that aura of a final. We're here in the Tiger Dome, the same venue that held the 2015 summer final. Ironically, my first LCK final. That was KT SKT and a 3-0 to SKT on the day. When I look over some Griffin highlights here.
They picked a good one up against Jinair. Really trying to make Griffin look good into this one.
Yeah, we're looking all the way back to match number 85. I believe this is the last time that Griffin played. No, they played on the last day, but this was the last week that Griffin played. Remember that Griffin haven't played on patch 9.16 just yet. And on the last week, they had some pretty soft opposition in Jinair and Humble Life.
They did, and we also get to see how Doran performs when he's not up against a power top laner. But also, in addition to that, we've seen that he likes Mordekaiser, which is potentially a champion that we could see come out here tonight.
A champion that I know you've had some kind of harsh words for after the rework, saying no one would go there. It's been surprising to see very select top laners still favor the pick. And we feel like we've isolated some areas where the champion might perform. So if we see it locked in, I think we'll have a lot to say about Mord and a lot to see if it works. It's one thing to say it works against Jinair. If it works against SKT, then suddenly it might be hitting that ban list.
I mean, the pick ban is going to be a whole other thing to talk about once we do get into it. I remember the first time Griffin came up against KT last year, and we had Urgot coming back into the meta and all those weird picks, and certainly we could see some pocket picks coming out here for the finals. We're going to take a look at some of the wins here that SKT did take in the playoffs leading up to running the entire gauntlet and making it here to the finals.
And Klid's Clinic is something that we're going to have to pay attention to here tonight. How on point can he be inside of this matchup? Because jungle, I mentioned about Chovy and Faker, Tarzan and Klid are no slouches.
It does feel like if I'm going to pick a 2v2, because mid-jungle is kind of that 2v2 lane, I have to take SKT. They've been an unbelievable form, recreating MSI form in the last playoffs run. it feels like when the consequences or the stakes are higher, Clid and Faker reach a new level. And while Tarzan and Chovy were really the stars of the show in spring season, I don't think they've really been a duo that's been wielded as a single weapon very much in summer at all.
No, absolutely not. And we're going to have to see what happens here. Now, one of the things I do want to talk about, though, is SK Telecom off MSI, like you just mentioned. They were on a tear. They were looking unstoppable. It was looking like they were going to cruise right into the finals. But then there was a hiccup along the way. And so even though in recent weeks they've been dominating, they're on a massive win streak coming into the finals, there's always that random possibility that some faltering could end up occurring.
And I feel like the diagnosis is, are mid-jungle in sync, yes or no? When they're out of sync, I think the team looks so much weaker, especially in the early game. But when Clid and Faker know what they want to do and start doing it, I don't think many teams in the world can really stop them.
Certainly does look that way, especially in recent times. We're taking a look at a whole page of stats here. You guys can try to decipher them with us, but generally a lot of high numbers for both of these teams. Remember, guys, Griffin, even though we're talking up SKT so much, they still got first place in summer, so absolutely not a team to bat an eyelid at here.
One thing I want you to look at first is the difference between SKT's regular season and their playoffs. The leveling up. Look at goal difference at 25. Now, that's a pretty late stat. I was looking at goal difference at 15 stats before we rolled. It's still a significant elevation as we jump over to the featured matchup. And honestly, the game is probably decided by the jungle matchup between Clid and Tarzan.
No, and you know, one of the things I want to point out, though, about the champions that they have highlighted, the Kazakhs, in both times it was picked, it was really a non-pack.
Agreed.
So what we're looking at is mostly Sejuani and Olaf for Tarzan. And on the flip side, when you think about what this could mean, Silas coming in for Clid, potentially going to be a heavily contested pick.
And I love that you talk about that, because another pick that could be contested that might surprise people is a Clid 4-0 on the Elite, so 4-2, but 3-0 in playoffs. Been one of those big picks for him recently, and it's an old favorite of Tarzan. The SKT fans around our casting desk are cheering as Faker is on the screen. And with Faker, we need way more space because it's those pocket counter picks that really he wasn't summoning. It was that Azir Corki every game for so many mid laners, and it feels like 916 has been an indirect buff to Faker and also to Fun, because we've had so much new stuff as SKT usually use the red side counter pick for Faker.
I mean, Chovy's arch nemesis, it's the Riot Balance team. Akali and Aurelia, they just keep getting hit.
And,
no one knows where to go.
Take a look at this, the mid laner champion pool comparison. They're both first here in the LCK. I remember Kuro back when I started casting in 2017. He was the guy that was playing all the weird picks and so many different ones. Both of these two mid laners here in the LCK have played a whole assortment of weird, random, standard, non-standard, assassin, farming champion. These guys pretty much have a champion ocean between them, but Faker has been looking a lot more solid, especially in recent times.
Weirdest one that is not an overlapping champion is that Azir. Chovy has never played Azir in his career, and it's a champion that may be deprioritized on patch 916, but still around. I know you're happy. Let's look over to some of the win rates here. We have them on screen here. It's really been a red side focus in playoffs, and that seems to actually suit Griffin just fine.
Yeah, the red side focus you can see here, it favors them. Take a look on the right side here as well. SKT 6-0 on red. The only loss they took was against Afrika, which was on blue. Again, it's not that many games to work with, but I think the point that you should take away from this is what Papa said. You know, red side, heavily contested. Wouldn't doubt that Griffin would be choosing that red side here as the first seed coming into these playoffs.
Well, don't worry, Valdez. I got all the information right here.
Wait, what is that over there?
It's all right.
What is it?
I'm not going to leak anything.
Can you read that? What does that say, Valdez?
Leak script, summer 2019.
I got it.
I think
It even says confidential.
I don't want to ruin the experience for our viewers.
Let's put that away, man. It's gonna, it's gonna get into your head. You're gonna be calling games over at 5 minutes instead of 8.
I want to check something. Tell me something that's going to happen. We're not talking about match result, but give me something to look for that shows me that you're not bluffing.
A team's going to win today.
All right. I'm going to need more than that. You know, I know you're not used to 2 analysts on the desk, but Papa's here, and Papa doesn't take no BS.
Usually us
What we got
play-by-plays
here?
don't, you know.
Give me a champion pick that might surprise.
Put me on the spot. What about if Syndra comes out?
Okay.
See, I've already
Syndra.
alluded to it. Now, we
Yeah.
haven't seen her that often, but she is a champion that Chovy does like historically in solo queue over the years. And it's a champion that a lot of people wondered where she would be at. But taking a look at these split finalist results,
This is for 3 consecutive splits for finalists that have been there 3 consecutive times. You can see CJ Antis, Frost up there at the top. They did win once. SKT won all 3 in a row in 2015 and 16. Griffin, though, they lost 2. They got second place twice. And we're wondering if the jinx is, does a team have to win when they go to the finals 3 times? We also have this one here. If you go to the finals twice, does that guarantee that you will win at least 1 title?
The stat here is saying if you go in both splits of a year, you always win at least 1. But there's other interesting historic stats. For example, only 1 team has ever run the entire gauntlet. It was SKT 2 years ago in summer, and they lost to Longzhu Gaming in a huge upset. It's a couple of years ago, so that's one of the few stats that isn't in SKT's corner. Some of the other ones are, look at this, fan predictions we're going to open up with 87%, and this is not just a popularity vote.
no, it's definitely not. And like we were mentioning at the very start of this, SKT are coming in off of a tear. Griffin historically always performs badly after breaks. Just doesn't make
in
sense.
important matches,
And
you can
in
go as
important
far to
matches.
say, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain reason why they've earned the name Chokers, and we'll hope that they overcome that tonight. You can see the pro team's predictions actually leaning a little bit more towards Griffin, which is kind of
He
interesting.
says about mid-10s to 21%.
You know, we went up, right? It's, you know, it's like you're going up in levels here a little bit. SKT still the overwhelming favorite, and we'll see the caster predictions here, which, by the way, it's only analysts, so I didn't actually get to put my vote in.
Sorry.
We see that Kim Dong-jun is the only person that picked Griffin, and he said it was based on a feeling, which generally is not based on fact. If I had to add mine, I would also jump on the 3-1 train. I think that's kind of a safe prediction for tonight.
Mine's based on a piece of paper.
Okay, got it written down there, got it inked in blood, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, we want to see it play out. Come on, we build to this. Yes, both teams will be going to the World Championships in 2019, but being the pride of your nation is such an important thing here. And for Griffin to go to Worlds as a champion, to actually win the big one once, would be such a mental break for them to overcome.
I think that, I mean, no matter what, a lot of people will potentially look towards what happens if Griffin does have the pressure alleviated by knowing that they're already secured for Worlds. Will it be enough to take off the tension for them coming into the match and allow them to play up to the standard that people are expecting?
Yeah, I mean, the thing you were talking about, LS, was after long breaks, they always come in here and kind of choke and fail, but I feel like that's also only possible because they get first place so often in splits, and they are a really fantastic team. One of the most hyped teams we've had in a very long time here in Korea. So my question is, maybe this is the time they finally just get rid of all the pressure. You know, they've already qualified for Worlds. This time they're playing for the LCK. Maybe this time they can get rid of that pressure and say, 3rd time's the charm.
Here's what I'll say. The team qualified for LCK in summer of last year. They have made finals every split, and for a rookie team, this is fine. This is pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
Would have been the story once, the story twice, but 3 times, maybe not.
Well, guys, we're getting ready to jump into the finals. Let's go into the countdown.
혼전 양상. 이렇게 혼란스러운 시즌은 없었습니다. LCK 역사상 가장 혼돈스러웠던 2019 서머, 그 한참을 내다볼 수 없는 안개 속을 뚫고 온 두 팀, 이 영광스러운 무대에 서게 됩니다. 그 두 팀을 여러분께 소개합니다. 먼저 기사인용입니다. 데뷔 시즌부터 준우승의 파란, 3회 연속 결승 진출의 쾌거, 그들이 챌린저스 신드롬의 시작이었다. 정규 시즌 통산 승률 75.9%, 결승 직행 2회 등등등 무지하게 많습니다. 그런데 문제는 결승만 오면 소위 준우승 징크스. LCK 역사상 3번 연속 결승에 오른 팀은 이번이 3번째. 하지만 단 한 번도 3연속 준우승은 없었습니다. 즉 이번은 이긴다는 말입니다. 상대는 또 너냐? SK텔레콤 T1. 오늘 반드시 복수를 해서 작년 서머부터 염원해왔던 CVMX의 꿈이, 여러분 모두의 꿈이 이루어지길 기원하며 여러분 큰 박수로 응원해 주시기 바랍니다. 그리핀! 시즌 초반 5연패, LCK 순위 9위로 뚝 떨어졌고 ESPN 파워랭킹, 지옥과도 같은 시간이었습니다. 하지만 어느새 9연승의 기세를 타더니 플레이오프 도장 깨기 대성공, 이제 한 단계만 남겨두고 있습니다. 7위 행운의 숫자라면서 7번째 우승을 그렇게 간절히 바라더니 이젠 8위 세상에서 가장 갖고 싶은 숫자라는 욕심쟁이 김정균! 그와 그의 팀의 우승에 대한 욕심에 끝이 있을 수 없습니다. 고기도 먹어본 사람이 우승도, 자 여러분 최초 LCK 8번째 우승에 도전합니다. SK텔레콤 T1! 자 이제 선수들을 여러분께 소개합니다. 큰 박수로 맞아주시기 바랍니다. 그리핀 SK텔레콤 T1 선수 입장! 자, 과연 그리핀이 결승전 징크스를 깨고 첫 번째 우승의 주인공이 될지, 아니면 SK텔레콤이 진정한 도장깨기를 이루면서 8번째 LCK의 주인공이 될지, 롤드컵을 확정지은 두 팀이요 LCK 트로피까지 들어올리며 전 세계를 호령하는 빛이 되어라 비더라인. 자 이제 결승 들어갑니다. 랜더 파이널스 비긴. 2019 우리은행 서머 스플릿 대단한 결승전을 이곳 화정체육관에 가득면 팬여러분의 뜨거운 파도 함성과 함께 시작하겠습니다.
SKT가 올라올 것 같긴 했어요. 조금 삐끗하긴 했지만 9연승하면서 많이 쌓아놨을 거라 생각해서 와일드카드부터 결승까지 올라왔는데
진출! 롤드컵 진출! 그리핀 나와!
보는 입장에서도 되게 재밌고 흥미진진하더라고요. 보는 재미가 있었어요.
예전에 또 도장 깨기를 했던 기억도 있고 그리고 좀 아래 순위에서 올라온 적도 있었기 때문에
대단하다고 생각하고 있어요.
부진은 있어도 몰라가니까 지겨워요, 지겨워.
그리핀이 작년 서머에서부터 계속 준우승을 하게 되었는데 그 중심에 있어서는 태영이 형이 아무래도 크지 않았나. 태영이 형이 있을 때마다 다 준우승을 했기 때문에
첫 번째, 두 번째 결승에서는 좀 저희가 좀 부족했던 점이 많았던 것 같은데 편안한 마음으로 임해가지고 하면은 좋은 성적 나오지 않을까 싶어요.
그리핀이 이랑 연관되게 좀 있었는데 2년 차랑 그다음에 두 번의 결승에서 준우승 두 번 숫자 2에 걸맞게 준우승으로 끝내셨으면 좋겠습니다.
3회 연속 2등? 이것도 쉽지 않은 건데 그 기록 끝까지 유지시켜주고 싶어요. 기인 선수, 서밋 선수, 너구리 선수 이렇게 차례대로 이기고 올라왔는데 그 3명의 이름값에는 조금 미치지 못하는 것 같아요, 도나 선수가 아직은.
데뷔한 지 한 달 정도 된 것 같은데 신생한테 맞으시면 멘탈 좀 많이 나가실 것 같은데 탑은 누가 나가도 이길 거기 때문에
2대1로 해도 상관없다고 생각해요. 뭐 둘이 합쳐봤자 도란검이라서 뭐 저한테는 안 되지 않을까요?
야, 역시 동아요. 패기 넘치는 남자 김동하 칸.
착각이 좀 심하신 것 같은데 그런 말에 흔들리지 않습니다.
눈가가 촉촉하시더라고요. 울면 안 돼, 울면 안 돼. 오늘 선수한테는 산타 할아버지가 선물 안 줍니다.
결승 무대에서 눈물 쏟게 만들어드리겠습니다.
그런 선수 눈물 흘리면은 각성되는데 감당되냐고 좀 울려주세요. 울린다고 표현했으면 그건 지겠다는 건데.
정규 시즌 때 흘렸던 눈물 결승에서 한번 제대로 갚아드리겠습니다. 클리드 선수 봄이요? 임팩트는 있었는데 그냥 클리드구나 싶었어요. 이제 저랑 비슷해지지 않았나 싶어요.
정글의 왕이라고 원래 좀 약간 스프링 때부터도 계속 듣던 말이긴 한데 좀 우승하고 난 다음에 듣는 게 좀 더 편하지 않나.
태풍 맞았는데 별명이 뭐지 않아요? 클리드가 신이라는 뜻이죠. 그거만은 또 아닌 것 같아서.
타자 선수가 인디언식 기우제로 닉네임을 바꾸긴 했는데 이 기우제가 항상 끝나지 않기를 기도하고 있겠습니다.
소비가 피지컬이 더 뛰어나가서 걱정 없어요.
이제 좀 더 라인전에 치중하는 스타일인 것 같아요.
라인전 이제 플레이를 하는 건 맞고요. 5.5 대 4.5 같은 상성의 챔피언이 있으면 바꿔서 해도 제가 둘 다 이길 수 있는 정도의 라인전 실력을 가지고 있다고 생각해요, 저는.
사실 챔피언 폭이라는 게 어떤 경기를 했냐 그런 게 저는 중요하다고 생각하거든요. 상황이 된다면 어느 픽이든 쓸 수 있기 때문에. 네? 가렌이요? 네, 가렌도 쓸 수 있어요.
미드 가렌이요? 가렌은 좀
조합 보고 가렌이 날뛸 수 있는 판이다 하면은 해볼 생각도 있어요. 물론 그런 상황이 없을 것 같긴 한데.
많은 픽들 준비해 보도록 할게요.
아니 그 광고 엄청 재밌게 봤는데.
테디, 지금 상황 보고 있는 거야?
일단 상황 보고 있는 거라고 계속 들으면 정신이 나갈 것 같아요.
테디 상황 보고 있는 거야? 준우승이야 준우승.
님 상황이 지금 제 상황에 신경 쓸 상황이 아닌 것 같은데.
제대로 받아치네요.
테디 선수 좀 상황 좀 잘 보시기 바랍니다. 별로 좋은 상황은 아닐 거예요.
미치겠네. 그렇게 상황 잘 보셔서 준우승 두 번 하셨나요?
SK에게 좀 준우승 커리어 한번 제가 만들어보죠.
상호가 침착하잖아요. 어수선한 친구들이 많은데 잡아주는 역할도 하고
파워 치면 끝납니다, 여러분. 파워 치면 끝납니다.
침착한 편이긴 합니다, 저.
로고설이 돌긴 하는데 상호 약간 컨셉인 것 같아요. 정치 컨셉. 좀 안속에 뭔가 악마가 있을 것 같아요, 상호.
우리 엔지 선수. 단점을 꼽자면 뭐 가끔씩 가다가 잘리는 거?
좀 안속에 뭔가 악마가 있을 것 같아요, 상호.
F 선수 첫 결승이라 들어오는데 많이 긴장도 되고 제가 선배잖아요. 3번이나 했으니까. 우리 후배 많이 힘들 겁니다.
저희 그리핀의 카운터 마차형이 있으니까 뭐 이번에도 스무스하게 연승 이어가지 않을까.
근데 마타 선수 영향력이 분명히 있어요. 토템같이 항상 마타 선수가 있는 팀은 다 잘 돼가지고 저 마타 선수 엄청 좋아하는데 진짜 이번엔 진짜 토템만 안 됐으면 제가 잠시 체험해봐서 알거든요. 그 토템 느낌. 서로 화이팅 하죠.
저는 이제 3연속 만나는 건데 저희 SKT가 이겼으면 좋겠고 네, 그렇게 될 것 같아요.
어우스기라는 별명이 SKT한테 있는데
이제 메타 바뀔 때 됐죠.
네, 이번에도 지난 스프링 시즌처럼 꼭 우승하도록 하겠습니다.
3대0 무조건 3대0 하고 싶네요.
결승전에서의 그리핀은 항상 2등으로 마무리했기 때문에 좀 도와드리겠습니다.
그리핀 선수님들 결승 진출 축하드리고 롤드컵 직행도 정말 축하드리고 3연 준우승도 축하드립니다.
좀 안속에 뭔가 악마가 있을 것 같아요.
SKT 이번엔 저희가 잡았죠. 저희가 우승하겠습니다.
우승해주세요. 준우승.
복수하도록 하겠습니다.
We're back here, guys, after those videos. Fun trash talk from all the guys there on both teams. We're here at the Tiger Dome, of course, for the 2019 LCK Summer Finals. And Valdez with me is Papa and LS, of course. We did our intro thing, but it's now time to get into the nitty-gritty, into the games for Griffin versus SKT.
And it all starts with pick ban, and we remember, we have not seen Griffin on 9-16. And you even think of SKT, 9-15 to 9-16, the auto mid laners got moved away, the counter picks came in, and even Faker was complimenting Chovy's laning phase. I wonder if they can use the red side, which Griffin have chosen for game number 1. We're so focused on what SKT has shown. Is there a chance that Griffin has something special they've been hiding for just this occasion?
Well, we do know that Doran likes advantageous matchups as well, so that's another key point to keep in mind. Now, about the moving away of the meta, who does it really affect more? We talked about this a little bit earlier on, but remember, Chovy, he never played a Zir anyway, and so he's not a big fan of that, and with the volatility of Faker's champ pool in recent weeks anyway, in terms of what he has been picking with Assassins and looser champions, where does that mean for Chovy?
Now, while Faker has been loose, remember that he's been winning the game, but often getting solo killed in lane, and he's against Chovy, who I would put next to Showmaker as really a laning-focused stud of 2019 laning for sure. And suddenly, can Faker have that same latitude to die in lane? Because if Tarzan and Chovy get going, in the regular season at least, that has frequently been a core win condition for Team Griffin.
Well, I mean, we saw Faker against Showmaker. He even solo killed him in that one highlight that we showed earlier on. But Chovy, like you were just mentioning, he's up there with Showmaker. I personally think he's the best mid in LCK. And so Faker's going to have his work cut out for him.
The only thing that, we've been talking about and really hammering home is that Griffin, they've been to the finals twice. They've gotten second place twice. A lot of people have criticized them for being chokers, especially when there's a lot on the line. And Chovy especially as a player, with all the pressure on him of recent time, to come in here onto a big stage again and to have people joking with him and calling him choking and all these bad names. Can he do it against Faker, especially after the trash talk?
LS, you and I were there just a few months ago for Spring Final. Remember Game 2 where the level 1 went wrong for Griffin? Chovy was way behind, and honestly, first him and then the whole team was boomed. And we've just had 2 best-of-5s in a row where a young, up-and-coming squad were boomed by third game by SK Telecom. The mental check, it's going to be clear from the early game of game number 1, but it could be one of those really important stories for this best-of-5.
You know what, Papa? This time around, there's no Pantheon Talia. to ruin Griffin's day.
Isn't there?
Stop.
Are the Avengers gone?
I'm still here.
Wait,
but
is that a spoiler?
no.
Are you saying you
Definitely.
read the leak script again?
Well, all I'm saying is that Mata was the gatekeeper before. I don't see him on stage.
Well, that is definitely a highlight here. Effort coming in. As Papa mentioned, he's also looking for his first LCK victory. We're getting into Champ Select here for game number 1, and let the games begin.
Starting on patch 916, remember, reworked Pantheon is disabled. Everything else is open as it was the entire playoffs run. First ban on Lahen's Yuumi. I would say he's the best Yuumi in the world. He is the player that so many pros around the world learned Yuumi from. That means that is taken out. The Karma ban is an interesting one because Karma's been doing a whole lot of losing so far in LCK Summer Playoffs.
Yeah, she has been she's been doing a fair bit of losing around the world even, to a certain extent. And now the Olaf coming in against Tarzan. The Varus ban, it's really not a very big surprise to me. Personally, seeing it banned away against Teddy the LeBlanc, obviously, being banned away against Faker. And so both of these teams, they're really just targeting each other rather than the meta right now.
Aatrox is a meta ban, though.
Who?
That's right, Aatrox. Don't worry, I'm sure we'll find some other pet names for us to both throw in and have a bit of fun. But with Aatrox gone, it was the choose your poison between Aatrox and Akali when it came from a Griffin perspective on red side. Blue side always has the freedom to not target those bans as much. Karma, Olaf, they're not targeted ones, and that means the Akali slips through.
You know, one of the interesting things for me about the Akali we were talking about earlier on before the broadcast is Gangplank can actually come in to answer her in mid or top lane. We know that Faker's been playing it. Chovy's definitely capable of doing it too, and there's Griffin getting a hold of the Sylas.
And the question is Sylas taken over and above Sejuani, for example, that's left open? It is, of course, a pocket counter to that. It's a very high price to take Sylas before anything is locked in. There's an outside chance. Remember, Chovy's played a lot of Sylas mid lane. Outside chance he'll try to contend with Akali in mid. And SKT have first rounded the Elise that we talked about might be a surprise contesting point between Tarzan and Clid, with Clid being undefeated on Elise so far in playoffs.
And it's going to be a big test for Doran. What is he going to pick voluntarily into the Elise Renekton? And SK Telecom, they're showing an extremely aggressive team composition thus far. Sedge is locked in. It's probably going to be Sylas mid lane. They're going to wait to see what the draft is going to unfold with. And this is already...
It's spicy, right? On the red side, taking the Sylas as a blocker to Sejuani, then just getting Sejuani and trying to mitigate a Akali snowball in the mid lane with Sylas. Now, they're not married to that as an idea, but with Renekton locked in, don't really want to lane that in top lane as the Sylas. So we'll see where it all goes from here as they get to start banning away and protecting your boy in Thomas Kench, because the Pike, which Effort played most recently in that semifinal in the Boom game, game number 3, is going to be targeted by Griffin.
Yeah, the Pike being removed. We're going to see what SKT are going to end up banning away. It will be the Jace, so a champion that can try to just go toe-to-toe with the Renekton. When I'm looking at these two team comps so far, though, Griffin, they're very mid-rangey and stally. They want to go late. SK Telecom, they already want to accelerate. They want to kick up the heat. Griffin, I'm assuming, is probably looking at Ezreal or a champion like that.
Now, I'm going to ask you a word cloud, kind of word association point. Doran usually picks for win lane. What would you call the duo of Elise and Renekton that SKT have locked in? Because that's a famous, well-worn one.
Yeah, that's... I don't even know what I would call that. And also, I don't know what Doran would be calling to his coach for
how do you win?
There
how do you win when you have Sejuani jungle? And really, the best style Griffin has shown with Doran is a lead in the top.
Are we getting Mordekaiser?
Are we getting Mordekaiser?
I'm thinking Mordekaiser might be on the table.
It is a favorite of his. He'll play it in matchups that seem super troll. He was taking it into Karma very, very frequently. AD carry pick here is the Xayah. What this says to me, because often Xayah is first rounded as a safe pick. Maybe it means they want to prioritize playing top side. I think the counter pick has to be there, and it has to be spicy from Lahens. Would they dare go the Quinn that actually Khan likes in the Renekton matchup against Elise Renekton? It seems really, really risky.
It does seem really risky, and speaking of ADCs right now, Ezreal's actually going to be locked in for SK Telecom, and I'm a little bit surprised not to see Kai'Sa in a situation like this, especially when Griffin, they only have one carry right now. Kai'Sa's really good getting backline access, eliminating the one carry, and then it's very easy for the remaining champions to just stand their own against the Griffin champs.
Now, they have very poor initiation, so maybe it's more about getting a duo laner that's not Xayah that Rakan can survive on, rather than necessarily elsewhere. As there is that Mordekaiser straight locked.
I got the script pop up.
You got the script, and also, if you at home want to go and check in on Doran's solo queue, go to op.gg, look up Doran's account. His second most played on the season is Mordekaiser, and he has a very high win rate, around 65% win rate. We already mentioned he'll take it against Karma. Apparently he'll take it against one of the most reliable ganking duos in Elise Renekton.
And the thing about this, though, is you can't dive him once he's level 6. He can stay underneath the turret, allow his jungler to play bot side, and say, try to dive me, I'll just take one of you to the Shadow Realm.
We're gonna change.
Ooh. Oh, wow. Right before the end, we got Faker hopping on the Renekton. That was locked in so fast earlier on that we weren't sure exactly where it was going to go, but Elise Renekton has been a very famous top jungle duo, but switching it to mid jungle is a very interesting last-second play by SKT.
Remember, you can still do insane playmaking with the fact that the minion wave clogs up more of the shorter lane in mid, and then Elise Renekton can still do Elise Renekton things, but there's more different areas you can enter from. Looking at that Mordekaiser, the Akali matchup definitely seems more forgiving as a jungle top lane duo, but it's a very interesting last-second flex from the SKT Brains Trust.
It really is, and I think it also signifies that the Elise has a little bit more freedom to play around the bottom right side of the map, and so Mordekaiser isn't totally getting the kind of mitigation that he would like to grant his team in a spot like this.
Looks like we're just about ready, guys. We're going to hop into game number 1 right now, 2019 LCK Finals. Here we are, guys, on to the Rift, what we all came down to see. SKT versus Griffin here in game number 1 of the Summer Finals. They meet again for the second time this year in the finals. We'll see if Griffin can have a better showing than the last time.
And it is a historic moment. We have had many LCK finals through the Champions era, 1 year before the LCS even started. Never has there been back-to-back the same matchup. Team Griffin versus SK Telecom T1 in spring season, a 3-0. SK Telecom T1 in fantastic form, smacking the 2 best-of-5s, 3-0, 3-0, a 6-0 showing. So many people assume this final is over and awarded to SKT before the final has even opened. Opening with some changes we were already alluding to, the Akali flex to top that we'll get into more as the game goes on. Notice that Chovy's gone for a very non-standard rune on the mid lane Silas. It's not Aftershock play on an island. It's actually Grasp and be a bit more brawl and trade heavy. Maybe plays into his win lane aesthetic.
Yeah, he's definitely going to try to have a higher influence inside of this lane, and the grass will sail really well into the later stages of the game. And really, these two team compositions, it really is a light versus dark side of the force here, Papa, okay? As Griffin, they want to go mid to late game. They scale so much better than SKT, but SKT, they're rolling really well. They have an Infernal Dragon. You have Elise and Renekton covering the mid lane. You're going to have freedom and priority inside of the jungle. You should be able to get that Infernal. That's going to help you against Griffin scaling.
Now let's talk to the viewers about why we were so surprised. I don't think we were even, it was only on the corner of my eye I said, wait, that's Akali topside at 21 seconds. Because Elise Renekton top has always done what it says on the tin. One stun comes in, it's a targeted one with the W, and then the Elise comes in and snowballs, and it gives you a strong side of the map. And Griffin had already drafted a Tahm Kench Xayah lane that we said, okay, this is going to be for defensive stats on the bot side. To me, the only reason to do this is to open up Faker and Clid to be that invading, roaming duo they've been on the Kiana and other mid lane picks over the course of playoffs, but it is at the cost of now giving Tarzan a very clear person to target.
Yeah, and it looks like Tarzan, he's pathing up into top lane, and interestingly enough, Chovy actually got a cheater recall off against Faker, and for some of those who might be unfamiliar with the term, he was able to pile up the cannon minion wave, crash it into Faker, who doesn't have large enough wave clear to eat it right away and threaten to re-crash the next wave. And because of the speed difference, Chovy's able to get a recall off, get items, get back to the lane, have it on his side of the lane now, and be defensive with item advantage.
Basically like a free back that didn't cost any real resources.
Why it's a cheater.
Exactly. Well, he's cheating, and he gets his way to a second Doran's Ring, which will help with the mana sustain issues that just exist in a manaless versus mana mid lane matchup.
Yeah, especially up against Renekton, who is known for being a lane bully and very annoying to lane against. Very important that he gets that great start, especially with not only the Renekton, but the point we really have to nail home is the duo of the mid and jungle with the Elise. The Elise was spotted clearing a ward while Tarzan was up on the top side, so just full clears for now from both of the jungles.
If you haven't been checking in with the Silas power level where he's at, he's definitely a contestant, usually in the jungle in Korea, but of course can always situationally jump into the mid lane and top lane in certain matchups. Now Renekton wouldn't be one of those anymore, because remember, the shield that is now available on first use of your Abscond Duct, the E ability that you use to CC people, is only a magic damage shield, so very useful against Elise, maybe the dominance from Renekton, but none of the other Renekton physical damage.
No, we're getting a little bit of a heavy trade right there. Now remember, Infernal, it's coming up in a couple, I mean, it's already up, but Infernal is going to be on the agenda in a couple of minutes from now.
Look at this lane state, too. Looking for the flash into the cocoon. Looks like we'll have our first blood. And that one's going to be given to Faker in the mid lane. Just like that, Renekton and Elise come together.
You transport it to mid lane, it still does exactly what Renekton and Elise as a duo have always done. Chovy walks up and instantly gets flashed on. That's an important first blood, and if they can transfer their lead like we speculated, maybe it doesn't matter how Mordekaiser is doing against Akali, and they can spread this mid lane lead into the bot lane.
And right now, Chovy, he's able to teleport back into mid, but remember, Faker, he still has his teleport available, so it's not like he's behind on anything, and depending on how the next couple of trades go, might not even need to use it right away.
And let's consider who loses out the most on this, because you get back in, you actually have an item lead over Faker for a while. Remember, bot lane now has a teleport disadvantage from other lanes, and therefore has to be even more defensive. So if we see a lane really frozen and piled up and crashed into the turret with double, triple TP threat, that's just the bot lane paying for the sins of Chovy in the middle.
And Chovy, I mean, he might still have a little bit of a CS advantage currently, but not really, as Faker has a wave right in front of his turret. And so there is definitely mid lane pressure right now. And while SK Telecom do have an advantage, they're going to need to convert into an Infernal Dragon, because just having a first blood kill, it's not enough scaling into the mid game, because the innate tankiness of Griffin is going to be really hard for them to handle.
And we've still seen a lot of Tahm Kench even after the latest round of nerfs. Faker takes a bit of a trade there. What we will say, though, is that compared to the other Tahm Kench lanes that have been much more common, Tahm Kench Varus, for example, that really allows Varus to kind of 1v2 the lane and have no worries whatsoever, Xayah Tahm Kench is much more a, damn, isn't this lane safe? Rather than any kind of threat behind it. So the fangs behind it are a lot more minimized, and I actually see Ezreal Rakan as a pretty trashy 2v2 lane. However, this is the sort of lane where Ezreal things that go CS for CS or better, and you get Rakan, actually a very weak 2v2 champion outside the Xayah interactions, through the lane very safely.
He actually hit Tarzan as he was coming out of the base. Definitely did not mean to do that, but he got a twofer with that True Shot Barrage, so Teddy should be feeling happy about that.
Sometimes lucky, right?
Well, I mean,
third time's the charm.
Already, we talked about mental states a lot in the pre-show, and before getting into this one, we gotta hope that Griffin is holding on to that here in this first game.
Who knows? We might translate from mental state to lull state. We can just visit all the states. I don't know how many states there are in League of Legends.
Going a little road trip together.
I'll tell you that much. I'm waiting for it. You know that it's coming, Papa. Wait for 14 minutes to roll around. Just give it some time.
When SKT, for some reason with their early comp, maybe we'll just want to sit mid and farm. We can expect it to happen in at least one of these games, if not all of them. As, yeah, just really getting off to a good start here is SKT. Talked about that first Drake Infernal. Having an early gold lead and having the ability to skirmish with that lead just kind of guarantees them the Drake even more. So it's just adding a snowball on top of their early comp. And Clid will have to wait and see when he does go for that, as for now he's heading down towards the bottom side.
Well, he's coming down into bottom, maybe looking to make something happen. Runs into a control ward, so not the best spot. Now, I'm curious to see when they're actually going to try to get the Infernal Dragon. They have the ward on the red, so when Sejuani goes to the red, they could try to launch some sort of opportunity or capture on the Infernal.
And that is for sure the order of operations, because that's what you're waiting for. The only point for that ward is to know when Silas will, in this case Sejuani, will actually come topside. And if the red buff is lasting a really long time, you know Sejuani is almost inevitably going to be bot side. So they get that information, and no surprise that Clid uses that exact point to at least investigate his options bot side.
It's almost like you guys read the script, but instead of going for the dragon, he wants to go down to the bottom side. Notice how Teddy and Effort are both low on mana. Effort goes for the engage, but there's a couple of wards that actually spotted the Elise coming in prior to that one, so Lens and Viper totally fine.
My guess is that SKT communicated when Griffin got some access to the river and know there's very likely to be wards in the area that they can't necessarily clear out. So safety first in the decision there. Ships in the night. Sejuani going bot side is Clid, looking for a repeat mid.
Faker has flash again. We could just see deja vu here if he wants to go for it. Trying to bait Toby forward. This time just going to use the dash. Dominus used by Toby, but it's not going to be enough as the slash comes through from Faker again. And SKT pick up a second kill.
And I mean, it's disastrous in the mid lane because the Silas shouldn't be dying like this. And Chovy's positioning in the lane, he's not playing around it, nor is he respecting it. This is going to be SK Telecom picking up the Infernal Dragon. I want to see what kind of stat bolstering it gives to the Elise right here. She has 70 AD, 97 AP right now.
It's going to be like 12 AP.
Yeah. There you go.
10.
Pretty good. A little bit more than half a longsword, too, in the physical damage department.
Now, there's such a short leash on Chovy that if you remember during the trash talk, when they talked about Chovy's effortless and strong mechanics, Faker yawned. Because this is one of those ways to deal with a player who will try to manufacture solo leads. Bring in your jungler, bring in a very high pressure duo, and at home, if you guys could understand what Chovy's going through, he knows that if Flash is up on Renekton, his life can be void during a CC bar where he can't react. So you're always playing around, I wonder if the Elise is there. He hasn't had forward vision. Sejuani hasn't been able to get the wards on camps like that ward that's still on. The red buff. We might have to give it a name soon. It's been there for so long from SKT.
We saw that too. It's just really strange that it did go down. Take a look at the flash cooldown here. It's going to come up right before the gank hits, but he's just not able to use it. The CC bar is too long, and then after that, he already knew he was dead, so didn't bother using it.
The thing about this is Chovy in both of these games, or ganks, he's been playing center pocket inside of the lane. He doesn't have any wards on either side, but in addition to this, he's not getting intel from the jungler about what side and pockets he could maybe play on. And it's looking like the most cookie-cutter ganks.
But we know that Chovy is a really good player, so is he trying to next level that he tries to represent that he has vision, or is it a Chovy problem? It's always so hard to assign blame, but one time, two times against Elise Renekton, you kind of have to follow Occam's razor at some point and say, play towards your vision, mate. What you're doing so far isn't working.
I mean, they have the vision set up right now that they should have had previously, leading up to this. And even if they can't have it as good as they have it right now, there's still ways to play around the Elise and play left, right pockets inside of the lane, knowing that you can't get ganked. But they weren't doing that. They find themselves down now 1.3 thousand gold, which isn't catastrophic at 13, 14, 15 minutes in the game. Shelly, she's going to be captured, probably going to convert some turret plates. But Griffin, as we move into the mid game, I have a hard time saying that they're really far behind. I think that they're slightly behind. But SKT, they're going to need to do more than this.
Toby spotted coming on down. It looks like Teddy and Effort should know about this, trying to clear out the wave as fast as possible, even using Arcane Shift, saying get the hell out of bot lane, as Clid very comfortably going to take down Shelly and look to take some plates in the top lane.
It's a very telegraphed play coming through from Griffin. You pick Mordekaiser to be strong on the weak side. Speaking of the weak side, I see 2v1, but Mord has his ultimate to turn this.
Oh, he landed that one. Already a ton of damage down onto Doran, but you can tell, as Papa was saying, they don't want to go for the dive just because of the champion that Mordekaiser is. They'll get a bunch of the gold, but they're not going to go ham, not yet 2-on-1.
This is really interesting. If they can land the repel and kill him within the CC timing, he can't activate that Death Realm.
All right, flash available.
This is the mini game.
Oh, he's going to flash the Cocoon, but it's still maybe enough damage. We're in the Death Realm here. Doran trying to get him down, but the repel is enough to get Clid to go 1v1 as Khan casually going to take out the turret.
But let's remember that you pick Mordekaiser to last a long time in a undermanned scenario. No one can 1v2 on the weak side better than Mordekaiser, and Griffin still do pick up the turret bot lane first, which is what their plan was. If you draft Mordekaiser, don't play on Mordekaiser's side of the map. So yes, kill does get picked up by SKT, but we counted the seconds before the kill was actually registered.
Yeah, we definitely saw what was going to happen for SKT. It was a nice flash and attempt by Doran, but the repel, there's nothing really he can do about it. He's calling him a cheater right now. That's what's happening.
Elise is a fun champion. She's exquisite at ganking in the early game, and I wanted to touch on that point. You know, SKT trying to attack Griffin really strong here in game number 1. Their comp was kind of face up. We have Renekton and Elise. We are going to gank you. We are going to try to win lane. And so far, they've been doing exactly that, getting into the heads of Griffin.
And now you probably know this already when you have a 2-0-1 jungler versus a 0-0-0 jungler. But SKT have made the game about what they wanted to do since minute 1. As Faker already always considering flashing on top of Chovy from level 1. They got that smart Elise Renekton synergy going off. No surprise, we saw that coming. They also read the only play Griffin really drafted to make, which is try to send 4-5 members bot lane and try to get a huge advantage through that, and they still were able to get that kill topside. So we're waiting for Griffin to actually enact a counterpunch outside of just a bot lane.
What we see right now happening is Clid, he's going to capture the Ocean Dragon. Normally, I'm not a big advocate of taking Drakes like these, but SKT's comp, they need a leg to stand on in the later stages. They need to roll more Infernals like they just did. Very talented right there. But also, Elder Dragon's really important for them if the game goes that far, because they're going to need more answers than what they currently have, because Griffin's almost in a winning game state.
I want to bring you to the now, though, Alex, because I agree with you. When we get into the weeds, when we get into the 35s, things look a bit worrying. Meanwhile, sending a million people bot lane.
Yeah, poor Chovy. Looks like they're going to hold off on the gank, though, so you can continue.
The now is that we have Spear of Shojin done for Renekton. We know that makes him a boss in the 1v1. We have Gunblade done for Akali, and we're almost on 2 items for an Ezreal. In the mid lane, looking for a dive.
Here we go. Nice Feather Storm to get Viper to safety. They don't quite have the damage here on the hedge. Faker is going to hop out because of that, but what about Clid? He has to flash over, and Doran, he's looking to hunt right now, going 1v1, but Clid is able to get out of there as Faker. SKT reaches for the kills, not able to get it.
Remember, SKT have those laning early spike items. Remember that we have a Zhonya's Rush from the Sylas. It's going to be less damage than a Jungle Sylas around this time in the game because the Zhonya is very much for the stasis. We almost have a Mordekaiser who buys time, a Sylas who buys time, and then, of course, Xayah still building with a building block item like Essence Reaver. Griffin already have the scaling advantage. They're also kind of waving the white flag and saying, well, we die slow. They don't really have much else. So in almost any configuration, a 4-1, 1-3-1, whatever fancy doodads you have in terms of lineup, SKT have a massive objective. So it's on them to smash and grab now. If anything, Griffin are encouraging.
Yeah, Griffin right now, they want to fight, well, they want to wait, I'm sorry. SK Telecom, they're the ones that want to fight. Griffin, they want to slow down, wait until later stages. They also have the Mordekaiser, which is really interesting for Baron stealing potential. He can go over, take the jungler into the Death Realm, and then your jungler can secure the smite. But SKT rolling a second Infernal Dragon, I mean, that's a nightmare for Griffin.
And remember, that's usually relevant when Griffin actually have control of the pit, which with all those item disadvantages, it's going to be pretty hard to get for the foreseeable future. But yes, can be very relevant as the game goes on. And I guess if everyone goes through a trust fall and flashes into the pit, crazy things can happen.
And absolutely, as the game goes on, wouldn't be an LCK summer final without one of those crazy moments as, you know, we were talking about this early to mid-game comp. Right now is SKT, they're sitting back in their lawn chair. They've got their ice-cold beverage on the right side. They are enjoying life
I like
so
to think
much right now.
They're like tasting the soup they're cooking up. It's just right.
Yeah.
Exactly correct. Correct temperature, correct ingredients. Here's the scene of the crime. 3v2 so far.
Yeah, feels so good right now for SKT. Right now, that is. They do have to make something happen here. They were thinking about a gank and a dive onto Chovy again, but we did have Tarzan this time shadowing the game.
So this is the semi-scary part, though, in the game. You can see that they're grouping, they're getting a lot of pressure in some of these lanes, but they can't really perforate any of the defenses of Griffin. They can't force Griffin to fight, but the one thing that is coming up in a minute and a half is the Infernal. Will Griffin risk a fight over it? Because that's definitely going to be a fight SK Telecom, you should assume, should have the better leg up in and should be able to capture, which is really unfortunate if you're a Griffin fan.
How could it be anything more than a prank when you have the itemization disadvantage? I think it would be categorically incorrect to fight an even fight, maybe even a 5v4 fight because of where the itemization is at. So
I mean, Teddy had his 2 items fight with Trinity Force, not Iceborne Gauntlet, so he's even tankier, or not tankier, he does more damage, and now he picked up a QSS on top of that, so he's not going to get isolated by a Sejuani, by a Mordekaiser, or anything like that. This guy is going to be dealing damage.
So we have to assume that the Drake will be uncontested, and then when we really start ascertaining whether SKT is missing a window or not, is how do they set up afterwards. However, that is only our theory crafting. It's a final. These are proud players. Who's to say we don't try to 5v5?
Well, Infinity Edge was actually completed by Viper in time for this Dragon, so even though Mordekaiser doesn't have the Leandri's Torment and Protobelt is missing on the side of Chovy, it's not that bad of a situation that it just was a minute ago, where I didn't think that Viper was going to be able to complete the item in time, but he has it.
I'm not sure I'm willing to come with this trust fall, but let's see it. I'm ready for some blood.
Doran could be in a lot of trouble. Look at the burst, not even able to use his ultimate, and down goes the Mordekaiser just like that. Griffin, if they had any thought about fighting for the Infernal Drake, they certainly don't now.
Doran in his first best of 5, face checks the bush he needed to know the information for and paid for it with his life. It's going to be a Drake, it's going to be turrets, it's going to be a whole lot of things going the way of SK Telecom T1.
The 2,000 gold lead, another Infernal Dragon picked up. They're not rolling quite that good on the next one, though. It is a Cloud Dragon, which is not going to be the most beneficial.
Perfect, they'll put all their vision around the Baron and get Baron instead.
All right. You reading off the script or what?
You know, that's what they're going to be looking for anyway, right? Especially with their timings. I mean, it's 22 minutes in the game. They got double Infernal. Look at all the items. I mean, there's this stopwatch and a Banshee's Veil on 3-0 on Elise. Akali's going to have her next item here in a moment. Already Renekton and Ezreal, we've talked about them. Griffin definitely coming up short for now.
Look at the itemization by Clid. How troll is this? Banshee Veil, Stopwatch, and it's Elise. So much ability to turret dive a Mordekaiser who can't necessarily pop the Banshee Veil as the Elise enters that easily. There's skill shots involved in that. So because of that, there's a lot of threat everywhere Elise goes. No surprise though, we can tell already with the 300 bound.
The thing for Griffin as well is that with the Quicksilver Sash already on Teddy, it's not like Doran can remove the Ezreal from the fight temporarily and grant his team the ability to fight against an SK Telecom that's lacking an AD carry. So it's going to be really unfortunate for Griffin because we're moving to the stage of the game where normally you would expect it should tip into their favor, but because of the kills, the CS advantages, the double Infernal, everything is just in SKT's favor.
So let's dub or allude to a game state that fans at home could look at and say, wow, Griffin could actually win from here. And to me that is Mordekaiser would say a Baron buff or the ability to actually take someone in the 1v1 and then a front-to-back standard team fight with Sejuani, Silas, and Tom Kench zoning for a super kind of complete build Xayah. That's exactly what Griffin is looking for, but that is not what all these early item power spikes like Shojin and Gunblade and just the map control that SKT has currently exists, but that is a future Griffin are RSVPing for.
Griffin, I mean, they're probably still around 16, 17 minutes away.
Oh, we're talking 40 minutes.
Yeah, we're talking 40, 43 minutes for the Xayah, Mordekaiser, and Silas to really come online in the face of the double Infernal. And that means that we're talking Elder Dragon and SK Telecom with the way that the game's looking. That's a really scary Elder.
You're going to have someone probably die and make a mistake on the side of SKT if you want to take any fights anytime soon. So pretty much all the objectives are going to be SKT's. They would love this mid turret so they can put a lot more pressure onto the Baron. So far, it hasn't been so great because Xayah has been doing a good job of clearing that out.
And LS, I want you to put a phone call into your cousin High Standards and ask him about when do we start looking at SKT? Let's come from a very kind of expected perspective, because remember SKT are coming in dominantly to this final. When do we start looking at the map and saying they're not getting enough, they're not pushing for enough? What is the next objective that SKT need to be building towards, and what should that look like to the viewers at home?
Well, I mean, at this point in the game, it can pick up the Cloud Dragon, and then ideally they roll a third Infernal. That'd be very talented of them.
But is the free Drakes enough, given the scaling is so in Griffin's corner?
If they get Elder Dragon, it's going to be lights out. The Ezreal can single-handedly destroy Griffin at that point if he has a 5 Elemental Dragon Elder bolstering all of his damage. But realistically, the problem for SKT, the reason that they can't just turn to the Baron immediately, is actually the Mordekaiser. He can go over the wall. If Elise has the Banshees popped, he can then just bring her to the Death Realm and grant Tarzan the possibility to have steal. And that's just something that SKT can't risk right now. SKT, realistically, they're going to be in this for the long haul. I think they're going to need Elder to close unless Griffin make a big blunder.
I mean, they're trying to get that mid lane turret, which will just open up a lot of those options you were talking about. And already, Ezreal here, Teddy, he's arcane shifting forward even after the cooldown nerf to the Ezreal in this patch. He's feeling it right now. As you mentioned, if they can get to Elder, he's going to be popping off in a gigantic way. And already, I mean, we're looking at SKT members that are a good half item, in some cases even an item ahead. We'll see if they can push it forward here in this game.
So how do you exit a stalemate, a lull state, whatever you want to call it? The most common way is to actually exhaust the enemy of vision and then make a Baron play where they have to face it. And that's something that could happen in this game. Always note how many control wards Griffin have, because they don't have the run of the river if SKT don't want them to. Spoilers around Baron, that isn't going to happen after the early game SKT had. So because of that, playing around, skirmishing around, exhausting vision, then starting Baron is the easiest way to make Griffin hesitate and face it.
Take a look at Toby. He's like, please let me get rid of that Banshee's Veil just one time. Nope. And the answer is no. We're going 1v1 now in the Death Realm. Faker against Doran, and actually pretty even for now. We have a bunch of fighting outside of it, but Faker has to be careful. But there's the Devour to get Doran to safety as he got low himself. So The mid laner and the top laner go head to head, but in the end, SKT still in the better position, will be able to pick up that Drake.
They're going to be able to pick it up, and now will the Infernal, I did not see, it's going to be another Cloud Dragon. So not the best role for SKT, but one that they're going to have to accept nonetheless, as now the question becomes, can they somehow get Baron on the menu, or are we looking at another 13 minutes before the Elder starts to become a real possibility?
What we are looking at is a nerfed Ezreal, but Teddy needs to calm down. His deft impression of hitting every single skill shot is forcing Viper and Lahans to use resources they just don't want to. And I think SKT need to be a lot less respectful, and
boy.
Teddy got the message.
Yeah, the Cutlass comes in, and Lahens has to flash, essentially 1v1, as he was just a little bit too close to the sun. The sun's shining really brightly right now for Teddy, as he's just doing it live in the mid lane.
And while it's not a face check that they necessitate, that was lazy from Lahens. He's trying to freeze the minion wave and allow time for his AD carry to get back. His AD carry was nowhere near mid, no business walking up to this Ezreal that was already kind of looking at Viper and making him scared. So there's another resource, and suddenly Lahens isn't a get out of jail free card, especially after the litany of Tom Kenchner.
Well, in the game, Teddy, he's putting on a bit of a show, at least in mid. He did get the flash out of Lahens. He has the Blade of the Ruin King completed now.
Where are we going?
Okay, we're going to try to gank on the Faker. He will respect it with the flash. You talked about that Infinity Edge. Now we're on 3.5 items for that Xayah. So the time's ticking, the clock's ticking here, and Griffin are getting stronger by the minute, and they're trying to make some plays with it. But Teddy, look at him go 1v4. This guy just doesn't give a damn right now. He's going to chunk out the two of them, and now we're looking for Lahens, who does not have that flash. Kali in the bot lane, but take a look at Teddy. He's still going 1v4, and now they're going to start the Baron.
They have to replace the TP ward over the wall. See what happens here. Kali, level 16 in the side lane with a death cap.
Looking for Doran here. He is going to get that charm down, but not really much of a follow-up. Teddy a little bit too far away from that one.
They really wanted Mordekaiser to ult. That is what they were fishing for there, was the Mordekaiser ultimate, because then the Baron hijinks we've alluded to multiple times are not available. Here's that death cap of Kali.
Well, they're going to get the ult out of this one in the 1v1, and take a look at Teddy. Just watch this Ezreal. He's looking for it, gets the flash. Here comes Khan over the turret, going for the kill. Would have had some help from his buddy Teddy, but he's able to do it alone as they kill Doran for the third time in this game.
And they have a 50-second death timer on the Mordekaiser. Are they going to get the Baron during this death timer? Yes, he has teleport available, but perhaps they're going to give Griffin a little bit too much respect.
I don't know if they should. Look at the vision. Only one control ward left, and everything else around the river is controlled by SKT. They're getting a reset off this. A lot of control wards brought further. So their first focus seems to be just doubling down on teamfight itemization. There was a window there, LS, and one they might be frustrated that they didn't accept.
And, I mean, that's going to really be sad for them, as they're going to have to now settle with getting another Cloud Dragon, and then Elder will come up. But the problem is, that Elder comes up at the very threshold we talked about earlier, where in the face of the double Infernal, the base scaling and just the item scaling on Griffin, it will come online. We will get a team fight.
Well, Khan, well and truly online, made Doran look like a rookie in this experienced top laner versus rookie top laner matchup. 2 years ago, Khan was on the winning side against SKT when they tried to run the entire gauntlet from Wildcard. Huni versus Khan was the matchup on that day, as SKT were 3-1 by Longjun. Probably the biggest upset we've had in an LCK final. Here we are 2 years later. SKT, we saw the fan vote, we saw the pro teams vote. Heavily, almost 4-1 odds ahead. 80% of people have said that SKT are going to take it down, and really nothing in the first 32 minutes would make you change your mind.
The script would.
Wait.
Hold the phone, guys. Enough about the script. Was this on your script 156 damage for the Sejuani?
Let me check. Hold on.
That's even less than the Skarner from Cacao, so...
This person's handwriting is terrible. It was 100 and...
to be fair...
157.
Can you remember where that could have come from? Was it when he kind of went bot lane and just kind of brushed somebody with his like level 2 W? Like 156 is very little.
Yeah, he sweeps someone with the W, and I think that was it. I mean, he is sitting on 0-0-0. You talked about that before.
You do more than 156 damage stacking up your damn E.
It's true. I mean, this is...
why aren't they taking Cloud?
Oh, we're looking for Teddy here, but he's got a QSS, and he's looking to turn it back as Clid. Look at the damage, the poke coming out. Baker's going into the back line, and we have a Kali coming in from behind as well. There is no chance for Griffin to win this fight, unfortunately, and 4 guys immediately going to get wrecked here in the river, and SKT with the massive lead now, looking for the ace as they chase down the mid lane.
SKT,
Whose river did they think it was? Griffin had no control over this river the entire game. Easy flank teleport, and how much can SKT take?
Well, I mean, at this point, Chovy, he wasn't there for the team fight. The death timers are way too high. Chovy, he's going to try to be a hero.
Oh, we're doing it. They don't even want the Baron. Chovy trying to go in there, immediately dies. 0-3 on the game, and that's going to be 1-0 in favor of SKT as they will be taking down the Nexus here in game number 1.
And I mean, this is the kind of game that can mentally affect players. How is Doran feeling? Getting his champion that you know that he wanted, and then blundering in some situations, as well as Chovy just getting run over in mid lane.
And it's even more serious than what you're already saying. Consider that we're expecting this series to be entirely red side. Griffin have side selections game 1, game 3, and game 5. It was their side selection, and they lost on red. If you're a tennis fan, it feels like SK Telecom T1 broke their serve, Valdez, in this game by beating them on blue side. And like you say, the history comes back. It was almost a perfect game. Just that turret, when the Mordekaiser was able to slow things down topside, was the only objective claim. And I'm sure Tarzan's not too keen on having damage numbers showing for this series.
And I mean, Tarzan can't be feeling all that good about this game number 1, especially because definitely there was something off in the early stages with the vision play around mid, especially knowing that you were going up against Renekton and Elise. And that's why the play across the board is so uncharacteristic of Griffin.
Renekton and Elise mid means your mid laner needs help, and Tarzan really wasn't able to achieve much. So while we're not saying should have done more damage, poor mechanics on the Sejuani, we are saying the Sejuani is a very important chess piece for 2 laners that are melee champions that can snowball through what a Sejuani can provide, and it certainly was jungle difference that was the biggest separator between the 2 teams.
Oh boy, well, he's not even going to hit 1,000 damage. He was able to shore up about 750 maybe in that last fight, but literally he just was not able to do anything in that game once his mid laner got behind, and that is not a game 1. If you're a Griffin fan, you want to see this one and come in with some confidence. SKT just wrecked them, kind of like a game 3 from what we saw against Sandbox and Damwon.
And remember, this is not solo queue. With perfect comms, Sejuani wasn't able to coordinate anything this game, which says a lot about team communication and also those synergies, because they were definitely down on the mid lane 2v2. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what to say about that one, guys. We thought perhaps this time would be the charm, the 3rd one for Griffin here, but already SKT looking unbelievably strong here in this first game, so we'll have to wait and see how that script comes along, Lake script, because Griffin are going to have to go back into that room and try to shore up something that they were not able to bring into game number 1, because that is not a Griffin that can compete with SKT tonight if we do get a repeat of that. So we are going to go to a quick commercial break. When we do come back, we are going to go into game number 2 of SKT versus Griffin.
마무리해줘. 바로 먹자, 바로 먹자.
야 잠깐만 미드 가자. 이거 끝날 것 같은데 미드 와봐.
미드. 가보자. 가보자. 물어보 대상경.
몇 가지?
오케이. 웨이브? 이거 끝날만 해. 진짜 끝날만 해.
끝날 것 같아 내가.
가자.
오케이, 가자.
사이 스펠 알려줄 사람?
셀프 있어 다 있어.
오케이. 이거 철거 나 최대한 늦게 들어줄게. 탱해줘 먼저. 이거 나 힐도 있어.
내가 탱.
탱해줘 계속. 끝내자. 끝났다.
끝날 것 같은데?
끝난 것 같아. 끝내자.
네, 조장.
나이스.
이제 이거 첫판 잘했고 단판 잘했어.
잘하자.
끝내.
나이스요.
나이스.
오케이. 들어가서 집중 잘해.
업데이지 말고.
야 김동현 투자 좀 해봐.